Sylas, though. Okay, both teams just won it.
Yeah, and this actually kind of makes things a little bit tricky because one of the problems is that Swainel is fantastic for Sylas to steal. Even before the rework, it was one of his best because it gives you that increased durability. Obviously, he's a melee champion. Having Sylas, Swain's ultimate is fantastic. So them picking Sylas might make it more difficult for Forge to take Swain themselves. But in the meantime, it just feels like AL are looking towards that Kalista. They could take the Kalista and the Amumu if they wanted, but instead gonna just go back with that Senna that Betty had a good game on. Now, I do feel like here, if you pick the Tahm Kench now, you give up more opportunity to be countered. You could leave it till that third pick and then look to take something else. It looks like they're just going to lock in the bot lane. And TT, that means they know exactly the bot lane they're dealing with and can look to bring out some responses. The Jinx and the Lulu didn't really quite cut last time.
No, certainly didn't. Wanting to be more aggressive against this Senna, Tahm Kench from Betty and Chocho. I am curious about that mid lane as well. Something like the Talia still open for Forge if he does want to go in that direction. And it looks like Kalista will be followed up with an Amumu. Chocho going to have to go up against his very favorite champion. But no shot on that Talia. It's going to be a Forge classic with that Akali in the mid lane. We talked about Forge loving those melee mid laners. Akali, very much his bread and butter.
And something we've often seen into the Sylas, used to be quite a skill matchup with obviously both of them having the same ultimate when it's stolen and being able to see who finds the edge in that one. So should be a hypey one. But we do go to the second rotation without any jungler being picked from either side. So Barons start to come through. Wukong's already gone. Viego has followed. And the pool is going to get clamped down a little bit. Obviously, is still a bunch of junglers available, but you kind of move off that top tier where Wukong, Viego, and I guess Lee Sin have been for the LPL.
Yeah, and I want to just quickly, while we're going through these bans, talk about that Forge pick a little more because, we saw his Sylas game number 1, fantastic pick, works really well for him. His second most played is that Akali. He has a 64% win rate on the Akali. Now that, it sounds fairly impressive in of itself, but when you consider the fact that Forge has not been on that many great teams over the years either, having that good of a win rate over 36 games is definitely an accolade and a half. Be afraid of that Akali in the mid lane.
Yeah, for sure. And absolute opportunity to carry in this situation. Now, we do see them ban away the Gnar here, which makes a lot of sense. You don't really want to pick it yourself and give over the free ultimate to Ucal. And you obviously don't want the opponents to get it. I would expect a jungler here, and then you leave counter pick for last pick. And I was talking about that upper echelon of junglers, Viego, Wukong, and Lee Sin being the top 3 right now. And AL are like, well, to a band, we'll just take the third.
Yeah, going to go for that Lee Sin. So still a lot of proactivity here for anyone's legend, right? With an Akali and a Lee Sin, they want to scrap. Gragas locked in on the side of TT. I can hear you chuckling away there, Aux.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, how I was like, not sure about the Poppy. This would actually probably be a pretty good place for a Poppy, right? You're into an Akali and a Lee Sin, both very dash heavy. It could actually honestly work in this situation. I just find it funny that like game 1, they blinded the Poppy, and then game 2, it feels like a much better scenario for it. But it looks like they're not going to go towards it. They want a bit more of that early skirmishing power with this Zhao. But they have that Gragas as well. So a lot of team fighting power, a lot of AoE tools. And it will be ZZ going for the Aatrox, in fact, at the end of everything.
Yeah, up against, I assume, the Gragas in the top side. I'd be surprised if it's out top. So we'll have to see a lot of AP on the side of TT, but also a lot of early presence with that Sylas, that Kalista, that Amumu. I feel like these guys are going to want to scrap over every objective, which is what we expected coming into this series.
And I'm gonna say, as much as sometimes people, like the thing is with TT, people talk about like damage profile, they have decent AD, but I love that they have like 2 strong AP solo laners when you have an Amumu, because if you pop that ultimate, 10% extra true damage on any magic damage dealt to them, that's just a fantastic combo. Like if you Amumu ult into the Gragas cask, it will do so much damage. So I feel like in this one, TT have a good composition to lean into team fights, right? We said that one of the concerns would be going late against AL. I think that the composition does function well there, but so much more early agency to contest. I feel like they have more comfortable lanes. They even have one that they can apply a lot of pressure with bot, and a jungler who's ready and down to fight.
Yeah, this feels like a much better composition for TT in game number 2. And I'm hoping that we get to see it the same. Like, I feel like in game number 1, we saw TT posturing for those objectives like they had a comp like this one, right? And then kind of realizing, wait a second, we actually can't teamfight right now, and backing away in the end. This time around, they can teamfight. This time around, they can go for those fights. But it's not going to be simple, right? Aatrox, Lee Sin, Akali, these are all picks that want to scrap as well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like AL are still going to lean into the fights and be comfortable. Although I think it might get a bit trickier if like Forge falls behind, so ZDZ falls behind, just as a result of the fact that like these two picks, you want to be strong, you want to be diving in and causing issues. Especially, I really love the Gragas pick here because into Lee Sin, Aatrox, and Akali, Gragas is just fantastic into melees because you can check them, right? Every time they come towards you, body slam, if you connect it, the cooldown's reduced by 3 seconds. And the current Gragas build is that really heavy ability haste one with the buff Night Harvester and the Seraphs, allowing you to get really short cooldowns and just pim a body slam anyone up close. So I'm gonna be real, I feel like here TT, I kind of favor their comp. I think they got everything they want, and it's up to AL to kind of mitigate it and see if they can find enough of an advantage, probably on their solo laners, to find success in this game.
I'm really curious about that top side as well, right? You mentioned the Gragas later on with the cooldown reduction will get a lot of chance to just spam his abilities, but ZDZ opting into this lane, opting into the Aatrox, and you know, you can see that it will give a bit of frontline for the team fight later on for AL, but how do you anticipate that lane matchup going between the Aatrox and the Gragas?
I feel like Gragas is just such a good neutralizer. It's like if ZDZ ever lands chains on you, I might... Oh no, he got spotted!
No pings? I don't know if he...
No, there's a warning
see
ping.
any pings
I saw a warning ping. I saw a warning ping on the map. Oh, this could be so bad.
Well, I don't think it matters. Chocho taking a bit of damage. Kepler moves in. Okay, Beichuan walks in. Betty drops the emote. It's a disaster for TT as they start with a little bit of cheese, but look at Xiaohao already in the enemy jungle. He knows what's going on here.
Yeah, and I mean, at least it's not as bad because Beichuan is going to be able to move through and grab Xiaohao's blue side jungle, but just really unfortunate. Like, you saw the concept there. The idea was good, but just slightly caught out on the ward. The execution wasn't quite there, but I like the idea.
And look at this freeze from AL. Just going to be able to hold this wave here, make sure that Kepler and YaoYao can't all in because, you know, Amumu is one of these supports, kind of like a Nautilus, right? Where when you go, you really go. There's no way out again. And if you do that underneath the tower, Amumu with Glacial Augment is not going to last long.
Yeah, and that's the main thing is Glacial Augment is really powerful in the fact that like it reduces the effectiveness of things like Cleanse, the AoE slow, very easy to proc with the Amumu. But yeah, as you said, surprisingly squishy, I feel like, especially into Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench is another champion who I was kind of talking about how like Gragas is really good in the melee champions. Tahm Kench, if you get up close to him, he will just beat you up. And Beichuan, just something to note there, does the kind of sleazy move of leaving one of the wolves up, whereas Xiaohao's been a good guy and cleared everything from Beichuan's jungle. It's like when someone eats some food at your house and just leaves like the remains of it out.
Yeah, they pull the cheese and the tomato out of the sandwich, leave the ham in, and then just leave the cheese and tomato on a tissue on the side. It's like, come on, man, have some manners. I will say, it's in mentality as well, though, because I've heard junglers talk about this and say, look, I want to clear the whole camp because I need it to be a higher level next time that I take it because I ain't letting them take their camps.
Yeah, I mean, that's a factor as well. If you're going to repeat invade, by clearing the full camp, you get the timer, you know when it's been done, obviously, and it's going to reset, and then as long as you're re-invading, it has more value. So it's a perfectly valid argument. And we'll get to track and see who it ends up favoring as we go on. But ultimately, despite Beichuan not getting that early gank off, he's still holding up all right. You can see he's a little bit behind in terms of clear compared to Xiaohao, but not too much to be concerned about. And yeah, this is the kind of thing with this top lane matchup. We didn't get to talk about it before. You know, a lot of Aatrox threat comes from either connecting sweet spots or connecting the W, the tether. It's very hard to do either to Gragas because you can kind of just sit back and clear with his Q. And should you ever connect the tether, for some champions, that can be a pain. For Gragas, he just uses his E to get out. So, pretty safe. And that's why he's often picked as a neutralizer. Someone who's, which is why in this game, you know, taken as a blind. And clearly ZDZ is hoping he gets more value in the team fights in comparison.
So now it's down to AL to try and look juicy in this bottom side. The wave is pushing towards them, but it looks like Xiaohao deciding against it in the end. Just going to go for a clear, deciding this isn't a play in the bottom lane that's going to happen for now. Drake onto the map, as you saw in the bottom left of your screen there. It's a Hex Drake to start us off. But ZDZ, pretty far pushed up this lane. Beichuan will walk over a ward, clears that one out, so ZDZ knows what's going on here. He'll be safe and just immediately rewarded that one. He knows he ain't messing about with this.
Yeah, especially with the position of the wave. He wants to be able to crash this in, back off. But I think the thing is Hoya's so low on health and so low on mana. Just wasn't really the potential for the setup. But now Beichuan, he's done some helping out the top lane. He's going to come mid and help Ucal push the wave in. Ucal actually does hit that level 6 as well. And Xiaohao's here, so maybe something could go on. But I think TT aren't really interested.
No, not for the time being. Beichuan just going to continue pathing down towards the bottom side, but with them backing away in the mid lane, I think that's Xiaohao saying, look, we've got a massive wave pushing in the bottom side. Your mid lane is resetting. Time for me to go for the Drake. This time around, it's, it's red side starting the first Drake both games. This time, it's Xiaohao on that Drake. I don't think he's going to retreat.
Yeah, but once again, he's low HP. Remember, the Hextech Dragon, another one that's a lot of damage, so TT are gone.
Oh, maybe he should have retreated as YaoYao did. Find the engage! Oh my days! What a bandage! Tusk goes halfway across the map. The retreat should have come out on that one. YaoYao will fall to trade it though. Betty now against Kepler will just run away with his life. The Drake taken by TT and a 1-for-1.
I think the lesson here, Joe, is don't start the first Drake.
Yeah.
In this series, because we saw the same thing on the other side where whoever started it ends up low, ends up being contested, and Hoya should be fine here, but won't be able to pick up that scuttle he was going for then. Xiaohao should be able to come over and secure that.
Yeah, ZDZ gonna start it off, be DPSing it. I wonder if ZDZ's just gonna take that one for himself instead. Taking another look. I said that he won't retreat. I was right, but maybe not the right call not to retreat.
Yeah, maybe should have gone for it. And YaoYao, fantastic job here. Gets not only the first bandage toss, but the second as well. And they did make a change on Amumu. This was one of the reasons he actually came into support, is that his Q does follow someone when they dash. Obviously, before, it would have just gone to where Lee Sin was originally. Much better now. Maybe in the last situation, to be honest, because he ended up dying for it. But, you know, generally, C does an upgrade.
Yeah, I mean, he guaranteed the kill onto Xiaohao. I think he's happy with that one. Most Amumu supports are willing to die for the cause because, let's be honest, you die a lot on Amumu support. You are, as we mentioned before, very, very squishy. You can see that in his boots, right? Not going for mobility, not going for armor or MR, going for cooldown so he can do it over and over again. ZDZ flashes away, will end it immediately. Beichuan chasing him, though. Knocked back at ZDZ in this 2v1. He's got sustain as Aatrox. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not, is the answer. Hoya holding on to that E to deny the final Q.
Yeah, really nice cast coming out from Hoya. The setup is there, and TT, you know, I'm just going to say already, despite the fact, obviously we saw a little bit of a slower game pre-6, finding some momentum, and just with how slow the early game was in that game 1, definitely a positive to see.
Yeah, definitely. Feels really good for TT to get themselves an early lead this time. Or actually, I say that, they are slightly behind in gold currently as Ucal and Forge sparring a little bit in the mid lane. Has been Forge with the advantage in this lane so far this game. You can see pretty sizable CS lead so far, just consistently crashing waves there. But I am curious to see what TT's next move is because I feel like they need to start snowballing. And that Herald now onto the map feels like it could be the ticket.
Yeah, and especially because both supports have level 6 now. We could see a play up towards that Herald, and the fact that you have the Amumu ultimate, it's so powerful. It's so powerful in this game. The AoE lockdown. TT are already on this side of the map trying to make things happen, but if you look bot, priority was achieved by AL, and Betty is walking over. So it looks like AL setting up for the play on this. They have mid-prior already. We talked about before how Forge is winning out in that matchup, and it looks like that'll be the play. YaoYao's running up to respond and should be here in time.
This feels like a bit of a moment of truth here for TT. They need to get this Herald. They need to maintain control of the early game. They can't afford to fall behind, because when they fall behind, it's pretty much curtains, generally speaking. As the Herald pulled out of the pit here, but look at this. Both teams moving on up. Also, I think we might have a 5v5 on our hands here.
Yeah, I think we're looking for it. Ucal steals away the Akali ultimate. Both teams posturing to get a look in here, and I feel like we have to track YaoYao. A Curse of the Sad Mummy could be massive.
Keeping our eyes on the Sad Mummy. YaoYao wants to find that big 5-man ulti. Forge a little mispositioned here, but dives over the wall, keeps himself safe. AL gonna force mid priority instead, but TT just group up and try and take this Herald down. Herald is really difficult to rush though. It's so tanky. And now AL return to the scene of the crime. There's Kiss the Sad Mummy ult 3. The cask across the team as well, but the shields are powerful. The sustain is there for AL. 1 for 1, 2 for 1, 3 for 1 with a double for Xiaohao. And now the chase down from Forge. The slow is there. The Shuriken comes in and the sweet spots can land. Forge follows over the wall as well with a flash. Can they actually finish Hoya off, though? He's damn tanky, and he's slippery as well. There's a flash from Xiaohao to finish the job.
And AL get everything they want and more. The Curse of the Sad Mummy just didn't quite do enough. The members to connect onto wasn't significant. And I feel like when the fight broke out after that, the cleanup was there. The execution for AL really on point. They don't get the Herald is a big thing to note, but all those kills definitely worth more.
Yeah, I mean, AL, look at the gold difference, right? 1,500 in their favor. We need to see a massive Herald come out from TT if they're going to even that gold up once again. And as you say, YaoYao starting this fight off, 3-man ulti, but it's on the wrong targets.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that QiuQiu is the one knocked in as the Tahm Kench, like they even try and focus him down, but it's a Tahm Kench, so he doesn't even actually end up dying until so much later in the fight. And then AL are able to just clean up off there. The fact that they invested so much into, as I said, the Tahm, meant that they didn't have any gas in the tank for the extended fight. And this chase down potential, at least in and Akali, are so hard to escape from.
Yeah, I mean, you can never get away with that one, can you? It's a tough one for TT. And it felt like that was their fight. It felt like that was their moment to start taking over the game. Oh, good little dodge from QiuQiu on the bandage toss. Second one available, but deep water dive. Gonna pull QiuQiu out in safety. Now having to go 2v3 right here. Herald comes down in the mid lane as Forge will just be clearing this wave for himself. And he's not backing away because he knows Xiaohao is nearby. Does not want to concede any kind of control. But in the meantime, ZDZ matches that Herald.
Yeah, and TT might be able to pick up the dragon here, but at the end of the day, a dragon is only going to really benefit you if you can cash it in. Whereas the gold achieved is a lot bigger. But actually, they might even struggle.
QiuQiu has just walked into the middle of everyone, flashes over the wall, somehow actually lives this one. In goes Beichuan, but the sustain from Betty! The Tahm Kench is invincible, and AL will not be out team for. They find themselves two.
And I feel like TT didn't learn from that first fight. Tahm Kench is not the target you should be looking for, able to buy so much time. And that was a situation where ZDZ is doing his own thing on the top side, picking up plates for days. So now you have this mega fed Aatrox to deal with as well. 3k gold again. I mean, look at the scoreline. Xiaohao on the least in, super far ahead. Forge on the Akali as well, one of his signature picks. Kind of seeing why that win rate is so high.
Yeah, absolutely insane stuff coming out from AL. A 4,000 gold lead almost off the back of that. Yeah, TT, you've got 2 Drakes, but does it matter when you've fallen this far behind? Let's take another look, because it looked dire for QiuQiu to start off, but he was just looking juicy for his team.
That's the thing, is that like they burn through his health bar, but then the great health comes out, and then he flashes over here, and they're like, well, there's actually a kick that gets the follow-up. The thing is, he gets sustained every time you connect Tongue Lash. You get healing based on your missing health. There's sustain from Betty as well. And let's be real, even if they killed QiuQiu, that wouldn't be a good play. And now they're looking for this dive, but Tahm has the gobble.
Yeah, QiuQiu saves Betty's life here, kicks him out towards the rest of the team as Xiaohao's arrived, but Xiaohao in trouble himself. QiuQiu on the front line where he needs to be. Oh, the turret shot finishes off Kepler. YaoYao forced away, and once again, AL are finding opportunities. Ucal gets one there at the end. But ultimately, still positive for AL. They just can't lose a fight, Orcs.
I will say they got the shutdown from Xiaohao. That's pretty nice, but as you said, it feels hard to pull off. And one of the buffs we saw for Tahm Kench not too long ago was the shield on his ultimate. I believe it's 650 at rank 1. And it's like the game plan was kill Betty. He gets gobbled by QiuQiu, and then like he gets spit out. And we'll just see in the replay, it's really ridiculous. Like, so yeah, trying to focus some
like 2
damage.
barriers or something crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and it lasts so long. So watch this and just track Betty here. Look how big that shield is. Still there, still there, still there. And then finally times out. And it's like, yeah, you just... there's no way you're killing him.
Yeah, Kepler tagging the tower there as well. Not ideal. Immediately punished by Xiaohao. And while all of this is going on, right, we have to revisit the fact that top lane, ZDZ, has taken 4 tower plays for himself. He's 40 CS up at the top side. Has a gold trigger, has boots, almost finished a cull as well. Like, he is going to be monstrous in the next fight that he's a part of.
Yeah, just actually got a gold bounty appear there from that advantage. Now, they might look for Forge here.
Forge locked up. Big damage available. The Shroud going to try and keep himself alive. And the perfect execution. Okay. I also think that might have been the last play for TT. I think that was that's the ticket now.
You know, I was saying you shouldn't go for the Tahm Kench. And TT, last fight, they went for the Senna. This time they go for the Akali. I just don't think you go for anyone at this point. It's just not working. It feels like every time someone has an escape, they have a dash, they're too tanky, there's a Tahm Kench to eat them. It just feels like TT are at least trying with the plays, but it is not working out for them.
Yeah, not so far. Forge still has flash available as another 3-man play in the mid lane. In the meantime, a dive on the bottom side. Hoya's in trouble, but Chocho, I don't know how tanky you really are, goes down to the tower. This was a little too much from AL, I fear, as now a mid lane tower for TT. Herald just spawning on the map as well. Perhaps a window to get some gold.
Yeah, at least found something there in the end. But obviously the first tower actually going over to TT there. So the fact they get the first tower and they're going to get this Herald, they traded 1 for 1 because Hoya was able to CC Chocho. A little bit of a flub for Mayal, and it does get quickly punished by TT. There's still definitely a deficit. This might be enough of a tool to find them a way back in. Now, I want to draw your attention to the Dragon in 50 seconds. It would be TT's third if they can secure it. But obviously, since they have 2 already, they're not under huge pressure to try and keep it.
Let's see how this went down. I mean, they just went for it. There was... Oh, okay. Okay, they get knocked under. So Betty saved. And then they just recommit to the dive, I guess.
Yeah, Chocho still has aggro. Like, there's minions there. He could have reset and stepped out, but he didn't. And then look how much it ramped. So Chocho doesn't seem to be doing that much damage because he's tanky. But whenever those ramped hits Betty, you're like, oh, that's why Chocho got killed by that tower.
Yeah, that's a bit brutal. But AL, I mean, I feel like that was their mistake. And a good punish from Hoya as well to knock Betty under the tower in the first place. Hoya actually been doing fairly well on the Gragas so far this game. Drake up on the map, and, you know, we talked about TT getting the first 2 Drakes of the game. They're not even going to get close. They are not getting access to this next Drake. This one is all Xiaohao's, and that'll start the stacking on an Infernal Soul as well. That's not one that you want to have to go up against. Chocho could be a little too far up here. ZDZ trying to clear the Herald in the meantime, but Beichuan can't really get onto Chocho, and it means the Herald will just be cleared.
Yeah, the concept was actually really good from TT. Don't contest the Dragon. You've got 2 already. You're not going to win a fight right now. Go top and make a play. But Chocho showing up, it's like, okay, well, we can't dive ZDZ because Chocho will gobble him. We have to stop Chocho from getting there. But then by chasing Chocho, ZDZ can just clear up the Herald. So they don't even get a tower for it. Not exactly ideal in that situation, and still sitting at a big deficit right now. Yeah, it's definitely a rough spot to be in for TT. That being said, you know, I talked about the power of their composition earlier. If they do manage to find like a big Amumu combo into like the cask with Kepler getting Ren stacked on multiple people, I can see it. It's just they're struggling right now. And I think particularly the fact that these solo laners are so strong, no one can comfortably hold ZDZ.
No. I mean, we talked about it before, right? He got all those plates for himself, but now a 60 CS lead up in that top side. A similar lead, honestly, in the mid lane for Forge. It feels very difficult, regardless of which way around you put these solo laners in Hoya and Ucal. I'm not sure either is going to be able to win their matchup, regardless of their opponent. So a really tough one for the side of TT when it comes to the side lanes. But oh, I just nearly died on my own saliva there. But then when you talk about the team fights as well, I mean, Betty, 1-0 and 9, right? Already has that Umbral Glaive, getting close to a second item as well. Feels like it's not going to be an easy one for Ucal either.
Yeah, man. It feels difficult because they're losing on the side lane, but I think the team fights, that's why I expect them to shine. But I think they're going to be difficult as well, just because of the deficit. And I feel like TT, you know, previous game, you had the Victor and the Jinx. Like, there was a lot of scaling elements that I felt like you could lean towards. But, like, your bot lane is going to get outscaled. I feel like the Akali in the late game becomes a bit of a monster. I don't feel like they necessarily win by going late. So they just need a window. They need an opportunity. They need someone to misstep. And, I mean, at least they have multiple engage tools that they can throw in. That is at least one aspect that is a positive.
Okay, we'll look out for the big engaged tools. Beichuan may be the engaged tool of Xiaohao right now. The Q over his head, but looks like he'll walk away with his life. And Hoya just trying to dodge the all-in from ZDZ in the side lane. But look at this, AL, it's 20 minutes on the clock, and they are fighting for Baron control. They have complete and utter vision dominance in this top side right here as Kepler tries to find QiuQiu, but instead finds a final embrace. And will have to just back away. Ucal moving over to the rest of his team. This might be a 5v5. We don't even have a significant objective here. It's just over a mid-tier 1, but in comes Xiaohao, misses the Q though.
Kind of felt like, you know, they were forcing TT to respond here and defend on the mid-tier 1. They are applying the pressure eventually. And, you know, if TT are forced to group here, you'll end up sacrificing waves on the side, or eventually someone has to go answer it, and then AL would get that tier 1 tower. That is the goal. Take that tier 1 tower down, then you can push a bit deeper in the jungle. You can see that control ward next to Kepler. Xiaohao was hesitant about clearing it because, you know, there were so many people hanging around under the tower, and they can just stay there safely. And that's kind of the thing that's blocking you from expanding further. I think once they get the tower, I expect AL to be able to really push their control and start to take over this game.
And it feels so good to see this kind of controlled gameplay from AL as well. I feel like this is the big thing that Rogue Warriors were always missing. We talked about the similarities between Rogue Warriors and AL towards the start of today, that chaos. Well, I feel like AL still do have that chaos in a lot of games, but, you know, they have a lead, they have a scaling composition, and they're like, no, we will not just flip it. We will not just dive this tower. We'll play it slow and steady. We'll push out our sides, flank the mid lane, try and force pressure onto TT. And now, with a minute until Drake comes up, they're playing for vision in the river.
Yeah, and TT do have the mid prio, so it's going to force AL to respond, and this gives a window for them to sweep through. This is kind of the difference, the advantage having the enemy mid-tier 1 has here. But in the meantime, look at the side lanes. ZZ doing a great job of setting up this top lane to push. We can see Forge doing the same. And with 40 seconds to go, TT either have to respond to those, or they're just losing gold on the map for free in this situation. So AL doing their homework when setting up this objective.
Have been. Xiaohao, though, gets a kick, tries to get out to safety. Saved by QiuQiu, but kicked back into the fray once more. AL still surviving, though. Xiaohao still alive. He's invincible. And Forge, in the meantime, causing a ruckus in the backline. YaoYao forced to flash. TT surviving for now. As Forge misses the shuriken flip, and now he's alone. Now he has to back away, try and get to the rest of his team. Flashing away and will survive. YaoYao still going. Nobody will die. YaoYao turns golden to buy seconds and finally will fall. QiuQiu flashes out to safety. ZDZ completely untouchable in the middle of the fray. And AL just blend TT alive. It's a triple for the Aatrox. In fact, it's a triple for Xiaohao. Wait, I'm sure I saw a triple for the Aatrox. My brain is broken. But AL win out the game.
Managed to find the fight, and at first, it's very back and forth. TT managed to hold on far longer than is expected. They go for that initial pick onto the Lee Sin. Unfortunately, though, the flash and then the gobble. I feel like if maybe YaoYao was sooner on the ultimate, they would have found it. But regardless, we get this extended play. Forge is looking for Beichuan, but the flash ends up meaning he doesn't get connection onto the target. And then it starts to feel like TT are getting corralled in here. And the problem is when they end up in the choke and they're up against ZDZ on the Aatrox, despite the fact that it was the triple for Xiaohao, ZDZ does so much here because TT on the wrong side of the map. And when they get grouped up together, this is where Aatrox thrives.
I mean, he just is able to churn through everybody, throws down flail. That little knock up onto Kepler is all massive to set up for the triple kill for this in there. So Xiaohao finishing these kills off. And now AL grab themselves that Baron. Once again, AL best Baron control in the entire league, which is kind of crazy to think about. They are maintaining it.
Look at that Gragas damage, by the way. Hoya did a lot. And I mean, this is kind of the thing. Functions very well in these fights, but still not enough to take anyone down from TT, and now TT will finally get the mid tier one they were struggling on. Remember we talked about before, the side laners of AL so strong. ZDZ just hit level 16, by the way. He's 3 levels above anyone on TT, and this is really where it becomes difficult. The wave clear is going to struggle against the Baron minions, and you know, before I said no one could hold ZDZ, that is even more so true now. So I think TT might just look for a fight instead.
Try and find it. Whether or not they actually find it is a different question. Betty saved by QiuQiu. They might find some picks here. Xiaohao's golden, but he's surely going to go down. Shields come out from Betty here. Deep Woods dive interrupted. QiuQiu will fall. Betty will fall. TT finding a chance. But Forge in the back line. Can he go for the 1v4? ZDZ is here. AL solo laners are 2v5ing. The Shuriken flip goes out, but it's wide. ZDZ now 1v3. Does not have the sustain. And TT finally get themselves on the board.
AL were overconfident. We have the Baron. We're in control. We're ahead. And then TT end up finding a great engage window to make the fight happen despite the safety nets there. The big thing was Forge not having TP join so late. And then Forge deciding, hey, we'll just try and take the fight despite a numbers disadvantage. And as much as they trade up at the end, they still lose so much here. And YaoYao doesn't connect initially, but TT just commit regardless. They know side lanes are doomed. Let's make it happen. And here the ult hits both, and QiuQiu, he can only gobble the Senna. He can't save the Lee Sin as well.
Yeah, QiuQiu saves the Senna to start it off, and it looks dire. And then ZDZ and Forge come flying into this play to try and turn things around. And I have to say, it was looking a little bit like Forge was going to get a pentakill for part of that.
Yeah, I think the problem was cooldowns unavailable meant the entry for the fight for the Akali was really going to be the issue. But then Hoya gets a body slam back, and you can see how short the cooldown is when he's connecting them. And in the extended fights, it's the Kalista, it's the Sylas who can really thrive. So TT got a lot of gold there. Shutdowns included. There was, I think it was like a 800 gold total from the kill on the Lee Sin that went to Ucal. So definitely a big positive. They're still behind though, but more of that is needed to get them into this game.
And crucially, I think one of the big things that fight has done is stopped the Baron, right? It's not just about the gold that you got from the kills, it's also about denying the gold that AL would have got from the Baron sieges. So really crucial fight for TT. And I just want to point out a statistic quickly, Aux. And that's the AL, we talked about it before, have a 100% win rate when they're ahead at 15 minutes. For TT, this is no longer just about getting a win on the board. If they can win this game, they will destroy that statistic for AL. They will remove them from the first place tie.
That's the goal, taking that opportunity. And sure, there is 2 other teams. I believe it's V5 and JDG who still have that, but AL is kind of a mark of pride for them. But one thing to note that is still very relevant is the 505 Akali. As you said, joining the last fight was a big problem. And I feel like if Forge is at a fight on time, TT have to find a way of containing him. The Aatrox as well with 13,000 gold, both problematic. And Hoya, I think he is the big piece of the puzzle. We saw that fight where he did the most damage, but if he can just continually land CC, buy time, keep these melee champions at bay, that is really the window where I think they'll be able to find as much favor as possible. Now we have Dragon in 20 seconds. This would be the 3rd for either side who can secure it. So a lot more pressure, but I think from how we see the map playing out, TT are just focused on picking up as much gold as possible with these objective bounties.
Yeah, and I don't blame them, honestly, because they're still, what, 5,500 gold down. They do need every single penny that they can get. Drake going to be up. It is going to be taken by anyone's legend, as you say. TT just trying to trade that. They did get the bounty for the tier 1 that Ucal just grabbed for himself, so it will be a small boon. But it does mean, Orcs in 5 minutes' time, TT are going to have to fight for their lives. That Infernal Soul, especially against things like an Akali, things like a Senna, you can't afford to let an Infernal Soul go over.
That being said, something I just noticed, so Ucal just grabbed a Rabadons, and you know how Ucal was the one who got the shutdown for the Lee Sin? He's only like 300, 400 gold down on Forge. Forge, who's 505 with 2 ADCS, isn't actually that far ahead of the Sylas in terms of gold. That is how much that catch-up has made a difference. And Hoya's actually looking now, and there's a TP coming too.
Forge could be in big trouble, but it's answered by ZDZ here. Big damage onto Hoya. Forge is just going for it. Turns golden. ZDZ arrives on the scene. Ucal trying to finish things off with the shuriken flip. Denied! Ucal with 1,000 gold shut down. Winning the mid lane matchup after all. ZDZ, he's got sustain, but not 1v5 sustain. And pings towards the Baron come out from TT.
And, you know, we saw the solo laners of AL try and 2v5 before. I don't think the other three can go for 3v5 in this one. They're going to take the scuttle. Maybe they try for a steal, but TT are beelining straight for this Baron. Oh, no, they're going for Betty.
Betty's in trouble. He's going to be locked up. Curse the Sad Mummy is there. And Curse the Sad Panda is going to be coming through in a second because TT have taken over. Now into the Baron pit they go. Xiaohao needs to prove his mojo here. Needs to find some kind of miracle, but he ain't going to find it today.
And TT are just doing a fantastic job of finding these windows. Hoya in particular. Oh, no, he's going.
Wait a second. Xiaohao has been caught. Couldn't even get the recall. In fact, he'll get himself a kill. Xiaohao 2v1ing right now. Knocked back by the cast, though. Ward hop over the wall. Chocho moving in. No way does this turn positive for AL. Xiaohao knocked into his GA. Surely will just fall here. Hoya has the knock up and we'll just finish the kill off in the end. I'm not sure Xiaohao should have got a kill out of that one, but ultimately he's taken down.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the Amumu dying, not that big of a deal, but you get the GA and a kill onto this Lee Sin, so pretty massive. And look at the replay, and this is just honestly fantastic reads from TT. The fact they're looking for Forge here, he uses all his abilities, Shroud down, Shuriken flip down on the wave, and so doesn't have the same tools that normally give so much freedom to the Akali. And it's this Gragas again from Hoya, just permanently body slamming, belly booping, and not letting Forge play the game.
I mean, ZDC as well does not, like, Aatrox has so much sustain, but only if you can, like, auto attack and cast abilities. If you just CC'd up the entire fight like that, you can't do anything. And you know, I jokingly talked about the win rate stat for AL when they're ahead at 15 minutes. I jokingly said TT are going to be challenging that, but man, maybe I was right. Maybe they are going to be challenging that statistic because they have almost closed that goal gap entirely. It's just 1,000 in favor of AL now. It's 1,000 away from TT finding themselves a lead from the jaws of defeat.
And I feel like we went into this series being like, look, TT, the early game teams, they get early leads, and AL are the ones who are so good at closing out the game. I feel like the script is being flipped here because both games, AL have been pretty significantly ahead, like the 50-minute marks. And sure, there wasn't a comeback in game one for TT, but they are making the comeback in this game too. They are doing what AL has done to so many others. And now they're in a position where a minute 30 until that dragon, which, you know, they need to try and deny that soul from and stop AL from securing that, because that might be enough to push the game back into AL's control.
And once again, when we were talking about AL earlier, we talked about redemption stories for each of these players. Well, it's kind of a similar story on TT, especially for Ucal in that mid lane. After last split, had a really, really tough time of it. I feel like this game didn't have the greatest start to the game, but now getting that shutdown, he's almost full build, and he is showing up in these fights.
Yeah, with the Rabadons and a Void Staff in pocket, so much damage from the Sylas. His AP ratios are honestly kind of nuts, and you see them set up now, has the Banshee, so not exactly an easy target to go for. AL are posturing, going for that mid prio, but in the meantime, look towards the bot side of the map. TT are like, look, it's still 45 seconds till Dragon. We don't even need to be there for a while.
Yeah, just go for a tier 2. Take that, 200 gold for each player, pretty much. That's not too shabby. And hey, why not just keep going, they reckon? Go for that bot in hip tower. TT out macroing right now against AL. They find 2 towers. Do they get away with it? TP comes out from Hoya to join the rest of his squad. That'll be enough for AL to cancel their engage. Xiaohao over the wall onto the Wolves. This might be a little overzealous from him. Will survive.
And it's not just the towers and the gold they got there. They forced AL back, so now they are the ones with posture on the river, and AL had to try and push in and approach. And you can see things like the Gragas barrel on the ground, hard to walk through. Betty manages to avoid the damage, and now we're set up for a big fight.
We need to keep our eyes on Betty here. This Senna has to pay dividends. In they go. YaoYao, big ult onto everyone. Chocho tanking up. Betty, half his HP gone, but Chocho saves him. No, he's in the meat grinder. He's taken down. ZDZ falls, and TT are doing it. TT mauling AL alive. A double comes through for Kepler as Beichuan. He'll chase out Xiaohao and make sure no resets can come on through because the rest of the team is headed for the base.
And with that, TT should just be able to end. We'll see who wins out of the eventual 1v1.
Hey,
just find it.
Styling on it.
Well, at least he gets something. But the win, the comeback from TT with the huge deficit earlier in this game, 7,000 at one point, and they will be able to close it out and take this to a game 3 with some fantastic team fighting.
I said at the start to fear the Akali. I didn't realize it was going to be Ucal's Akali ultimate that we had to fear. TT with a comeback win against the Comeback Kings themselves. Managing to find that one after a rough early game and managing to prove our expectations wrong coming into this series.
Yeah, and I mean, I just feel like the engage potential, the lockdown potential, the tools they had worked so beautifully, and it kind of felt like they'd taken notes out of AL's book. Like the execution was there. Coming in that team fight, we saw YaoYao get the fantastic ult that hit Betty, and then Betty gets gobbled up. And it was actually funny because I was trying to look, okay, where's Betty going to come out? And then Betty got, I think he just died with...
Yeah, Chocho just died.
Chocho.
I think,
yeah, Chocho died, and then Betty just like didn't disappeared, like got deleted as well in the same combo. Yeah, really fun one to watch. And I'm so glad because after that game 1, I was a bit concerned because I was like, if AL are winning early, I'm not sure TT are the team to be able to bring it back. And I was like, I wanted this to be a close series. I wanted it to be a battle. This game really was. And now going in that game 3, both teams have kind of had lessons from their losses. I'm hoping that it ends up being another big fight.
Yeah, I really hope that both teams now decide that they need to play for aggressive early styles, and we just get a scrap for the entire game for game number 3, because I feel like we've proven now that both teams can win in the later stages, which is not something I expected to say coming into today. That was not a statement I thought we would be able to make about TT, but they've proven us wrong. And that has just been the story of their split, hasn't it? Whatever we expect from TT, they'll prove it wrong. They've come in expecting to be essentially a 17th place team. They've proven that wrong time and time again so far this split. Now we say they're an early game team only. Well, they've proven that wrong too. So we'll have to see what more they have up their sleeves. I'm just excited now. I'm excited about both of these rosters, and I'm excited that we're getting this kind of shuffle up in the LPL. It was getting to a point where some of these teams, you just expect them to fail in the split, but not anymore. Hoya with mega damage on the Gragas as well.
I mean, this Gragas pick, I feel like was just so good here. The fact that you're into 4 melee champions, he managed to get so much damage, permanently just slamming into everyone. Kind of crazy, and we're seeing really the value of what the pick can do when it gets just maximum output. So, a fantastic one. I just love as well is that the meta we're getting in this series, like game 1 maybe less so, but game 2, Sylas into Akali. We're getting things like the Aatrox, the Amumu, Lee Sin is in Zhao, all those exciting picks that we love to see in the LPL.
Yeah, I mean, such a fun game, such an exciting one, such a big comeback for TT, and such a positive moment for TT fans. You know, Kelsey and her viewers, I think, may be the only English-speaking TT fans, but they are all over the moon right now. And it means we're going to 3 games. And it means we might just have a bit of a banger to round out our first series of the day. And our second series is looking to be